Welcome to Order Militaris Radio TV, and we're lifelong Catholics. And what we do is all for free and for our love of Jesus Christ and for Holy Mother, the Church. We'll defend our Holy Mother, the Church. We are live once again from Warsaw, Poland, with Brother Alexis Bonello, but this time we are in our second Commandery. Welcome, Brother Alexis.
Welcome from the Commandery of St. Stanislaus in Warsaw, Poland. So this opens a new era in the history and activity of our order. We now have secured a lease on a place here in downtown Warsaw, where our men passing through can stay a few nights, get formation, and where we can organize our humanitarian and military efforts and get all the supplies and equipment we need. Only 20 minutes from the Chopin airport. So, and we're very close, a short walk to the Ukrainian embassy to get all kinds of paperwork and stuff. So it's going to be very useful. And this Divine Province, this is the quickest rent I've ever seen in Europe. I saw it and I rented it in like 24 hours. And they were just glad that we're here in Poland to help people. The Poles were just like overwhelmed, you know. And it shows you how different the reality is from the environment that some people are trying to create on social media.
So let's go further into it. What's the purpose of the second one? You started it out, so.
So our first commandery in Rome was for the Catholics and Communion of Pope Benedict to have a place where they could say Mass without being harassed. So it's consequently, it's a villa in the countryside, and I set that up in October, and the benefactors came through very strong, all our benefactors, and so that was wonderful. We had Mass there, and we will have Mass regularly there, and that's the purpose of that house. The purpose of this commandery is more closer to the actual purpose and mission of our order, which is to defend Christians when they're being persecuted and where that defense requires military intervention. And we also don't omit from our work also humanitarian work, what's called in modern times humanitarian work, what Catholics would call the corporal works of mercy. So when I heard the war break out, I said, I got to get close to the war zone, but not actually get in it and find a place where we can supplies. And Warsaw was the obvious choice. We're in the heart of the Polish Catholic nation. And so having a place here to be our administrative headquarters, our recruiting office, our logistics center, where we do all our networking around Poland and Eastern Europe, and where we can get men prepared and send supplies into the Ukraine. So it's going to be very useful and very active. And I expect that I hope to recruit some volunteers and have the place buzzing with activity in just a few short weeks.
Who is Saint Stanislaus for our patron?
You could probably answer that better. I think he was the son of Jan Sobieski, was he?
Yeah.
And he led one of the Polish contingents to the Battle of Vienna, brought in supplies. And I know he was actually studying to be a priest when he became heir to the throne, and he got special permission of the Pope to serve as King of Poland. So he's the obvious choice for our patron here. He understood what threats are, and he had the charity to organize Polish military units to defend Christians being persecuted outside of Poland. So he's the obvious choice to name this commandery. Our first one's named after Blessed Urban II, who called the First Crusade.
How has Poland accepted Order Militaris?
I get absolutely enthusiastic response from everyone. They think it's absolutely wonderful that a friar is in Poland doing this, that there's an American organization that does these kind of things, that were interested in helping out, because Poland is like the most looked down member of Europe. The Masons hate Poland because the Poles are Slavs and they hate Slavs because they're racist bigots. And they hate Catholics, and Slavs who are Catholics, they hate the most. And they have been trying for 200 years to destroy the Polish nation by getting them all divided up at the end of the 1700s, and then bombing them out of existence in the First and Second World Wars, and seducing them to join the EU, and just yesterday sanctioning them because they won't allow gay marriage, they banned abortion, and they won't allow their judiciary to be manipulated by Masons. So the hammers are falling hard on Poland, and the Poles, though, are absolutely thrilled. One person who knows the situation in Poland said, "I think once the Poles find out you're organizing a brigade or a legion of volunteers, you're going to become like a lightning rod of popularity, because the popular Catholic faith, the faithful Catholic, the common man in Poland, is very nationalistic, it's very militant, and the clergy, according to my sources now in Poland, say 80% of the bishops in Poland are of Jewish blood, and most of them are left-wing sellouts. And the laity there's a big divide between the hierarchy and the laity. So our organization is going to really connect with the laity, because we're doing what Catholics should be doing. And that's not going to surprise me, because we're doing what the Holy Spirit has always inspired Catholics to do. And so I think getting strong support everywhere, and everywhere I go, people like the Poles are very devout. I don't know Polish yet, but when I go down the street, they pass me by, they're saluting me. They're saying something in Polish. I think they're saying "Praise be Jesus Christ" or "Good day, Father." I need translators. I need someone who can speak Polish and English. So as I say, the Poles are just absolutely thrilled by this, and I think this is the right place to have our second.
And I want to switch topics to probably a Russian troll who is in Poland saying, "What are you doing? Slavics against Slavics. Why are you sending them to kill Slavics?" It's like, my first response was, well, Russians are killing Christians, bombing churches, now have a hit list on Ukrainian Catholic priests. So, also, Saint Stanislaw, the son of Jan Sobieski, would have no problem with what we're doing.
None at all. As soon as he heard it was the Russians, he'd be like, "Yes, let's send troops." And that troll's trying to frame it as if we're racists or something. We're not here because the Poles and the Ukrainians are Slavs. We're here because the Poles and Ukrainians are Christians, and that they're being unjustly persecuted. And that's what our order is about: defending Christians who are unjustly persecuted, especially Catholics. And a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people, I wrote about this on From Home today, a lot of people during the scamdemic decided that their governments were totally evil, and they looked for some kind of worldly savior. Some looked at Trump, some looked at Putin. When Putin declared war on the Ukraine, they were like the chorus of cheers. They don't care how many women and children he was bombing or churches blowing up. The fact that he violated international law, that he had no just cause for this war, that's killing women and children, and invading a country that doesn't belong to him and who don't want him. It was like, no, he's our super infinite daddy. He's my teddy bear's identity kind of anchor here. These people have little Christian faith because they don't put their trust in God. They want to put it in some man in this world. And they'll defend that man with every argument as if they're defending God. And consequently, out of their fingers on the keyboard and out of their mouth is coming a torrent of lies, insults, calumnies, the most vicious things. They must cancel like 20, 40 nasty comments every day from home, or even an email. And some people going so far as to say nasty things even on our social media platform, which they're using for free, and they're attacking us. So this is about the lowest of low. This is like, you have to invite me to tea, and I'm going to stick a knife in your back while you're going for the marmalade. So this is really satanic. It's absolutely satanic, and
Yeah.
it's revealing what's really in people's hearts.
Yeah. When Putin bombed that church of Our Lady, and in the Ukrainian news rightly pointed out, Himmler and Hitler never touched that church. Stalin never touched that church.
Mm-hmm.
But Putin did.
Mm-hmm. It shows you what spirit is behind them. And some people were so vicious that they said, oh, Putin didn't bomb the church. The Ukrainians bombed the church just so they could blame it on Russia. And people who say that are absolute racist bigots, because they think the Ukrainians are that low and scurrilous that they would do something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is, when I recount these kinds of comments to people in Poland, their eyes just turn like, how could be so vicious? But the Ukrainians and Poles know that they're hated by Western Freemasons. And unfortunately, a lot of people who call themselves Catholic have just sucked up all the hatred of the Masonic culture and are now spitting it out against the Ukraine and anyone who comes to their defense. One man even said, there's no Americans going to fight in the Ukraine. That's all propaganda. They're denying blatant facts. I mean, shows the men going off. It's just terrible. It's just so shameful. But
Yeah. Well, there was reports of just plain regular British infantry veterans who got done fighting in Afghanistan, retired, and thinking, "Man, that was rough in Afghanistan." They go over to Ukraine. I think they got they didn't ask not to be put with the Azogs. Well, they found out how bad that minority is, and also, and they were put directly in fire of the rockets and stuff, and like, those guys are ruthless. Those bombs are ruthless. I was like, yeah. And only thing I can think of is how to what to compare this war is. From all the reports and everything, it was something like what our grandfathers fought in World War II and our great grandfathers fought in World War One. Just put them together. Just
yeah, it's going to be a very, very hot fight. And it's probably, and if they run out of ammo, it might go to hand in hand. But the difference between the war in Afghanistan and the war in Ukraine is the allies, you Americans, the Brits, whoever else was there, the Italians were there, I think the French were also there, the Spaniards, they had air supremacy. So you could always call in an airstrike, a helicopter, or something like that. Now it's reversed. NATO has refused to send planes to the Ukraine. So they're letting Ukraine burn. They're letting hospitals get bombed. And they could easily solve that problem. So to fight in the Ukraine is going to take an exceptionally agile, able, and courageous man, because you can't stand out in the open and wave at the planes. You got to hide, and you got to realize this guy's also your enemy, and you have to use your noggin on how to attack the enemy. Fortunately, it is possible because Russia cannot replace their army. They don't have sufficient industry. A war of attrition will prevent them from making any gains. They've assigned all their active tactical units to take Kiev, and that fight began, I think, last night. And they're going to get a big, very bloody nose. And contrary to what a troll said on From Rome, that men with light arms can't start armor, that's just absolutely false. If you do is go after their supply lines, and the armor is useless. And the vets that are coming from around the world aren't going there to be slaughtered like cattle. Most of them are experts on how to use shoulder-fired anti-tank weapons. And so they'll be very important part of the Ukrainian military. And they're going to really blunt the nose of the Russians. So there's a lot of defeatists out there. I don't know why so many people want Ukraine defeated and Russia on the borders of Poland, but it shows you they're not led by the Spirit of God.
Mm. Yeah, and yesterday and last night for you, the guys was like, we got to defeat this propaganda about what's going on over here. So one of the guys who had a smartphone with him, like, let's just turn on live stream and just live stream one battle outside of Kiev. Yeah, it's rough.
Mm-hmm. It's rough and it's real. It's not being made up, folks. You know, there was a woman who was bombed at the maternity hospital, Mariupol. She happens to be a famous Ukrainian model.
Mm-hmm.
And so they immediately said it was a staged event and they vilified her, but she is really pregnant. She was really in the hospital. So it's like any possible attack. Now, I could see if it was a Russian agent doing stuff like this, but some people have sucked up so much Russian propaganda and they hate government so much. For some reason, they think Putin is the Immaculate Conception. He's going to save the world, so that everyone he attacks must be evil. And they're doing worse than KGB. So it's really sad, but we've seen this already in the last 2 years. Some people have defended everything the media said about the pandemic viciously and actually pushed billions of people into risking their life. And you can't talk these people out of it because they're ideologues. And we've come to another situation where while the roles are reversed, the ideology is still there. Putin is immaculate. Any crime he commits is absolutely, and whereas the Ukrainian people have no right to exist and should be wiped off the face of the map. You know, both positions are anti-Christian. And a lot of people accusing us, well, you know, you were against the scamdemic, but now you're for Ukraine. You've become New World Order supporters. That's not the case. We live by the teaching of Christ, and the moral situation on the ground determines whether we participate or not. And to defend the Christian people is a Christian duty. And if you think you can hate a nation or desire to wipe it off the face of the map because you don't like the people who are the friends of the government, then you have to admit you're an evil person, you're not Christian, and you're espousing a diabolic doctrine that is nowhere taught in Scripture. So, and people going wild that I'm saying this, oh, he's condemning everyone to hell who disagrees with him. Well, that's because we take the Christian position. We take the teaching of Christ and of the church. And if we said that it's okay to have a different opinion, we'd be saying it's okay to disagree with Christ, and we're not going to say that. And if you don't like Ordo Militaris Catholicus because we take the line of Christ and we defend his teaching, then what can I say? Join an Aryan, Nazi, Marxist, atheist, or satanic group. You know, don't follow us.
Mm. So, and I wanted to share the tweet from the Major General of the Ukrainian Armed Forces you put out this morning while you were fighting the traffic in Warsaw. He said this, yeah, let's get it. I appeal to all the soldiers of Ukraine, everyone who is in line and who is right now joining our ranks. Our common goal is to suppress those who dare to encroach on our land and our freedom. Fight, destroy Russia with all fury, which we are capable of. The commander of the Ukraine Army, Major General Grigory Galagin.
Mm-hmm. Well, statement. And I want to praise the Ukrainian government for making the right decision. Before they even made the decision on Ordo Militaris, we publicly stated they need to start a foreign legion. Within 12 hours, they declared they were going to do a foreign legion. I'm not saying they read our Twitter feed, but maybe they did. And they opened it up to anyone from around the world. They're offering 3,300 a month pay, which is very generous salary. So they're taking a lot of that foreign aid and they're giving it to the men. And they're citizenship, so they can avoid being, when they're captured on the field, of being treated as mercenaries in war. And that's very generous terms. And you can get citizenship right away if you're a
Yeah.
military veteran and know how to fight. So extremely generous terms. And I'm certain that all men of goodwill are going to pay attention to this. And anyone who's naysaying it is really a really petty, petty kind of shameful person.
And
And so I want to
and
praise the Ukrainian government for that.
yeah. And if you capture tanks that are still in working condition, or if you capture the Russian helicopters that are in working condition, helicopters, they'll award you $500,000, and a tank is worth $1 million.
Okay, so this shows you the Ukrainian government, for all the criticism people give of it, is acting like a Catholic government in the time of Crusades. They want to promote virtue. They're doing everything to promote virtue. Not at all like other armies. It'd be like saying, well, if we want to win this war, we're going to have to give pornography to all our soldiers.
Yeah.
Or the U.S. Army in Iraq had a base where they gave all the soldiers sex toys to play with when they were on R&R. So, if you want to criticize a government and how they conduct war, why don't you criticize your own government? But, lay off the Ukrainians. You have no right to criticize them. They are your moral superiors. And it's a proud and noble thing for any man to serve with the Ukrainians in this fight. And I'm honored to be here in Poland. And I pray God send us all the help so our order can contribute to this fight as our first military endeavor.
Yep. And to those who have said they're coming, in a nice language, get your butts to Warsaw.
Yeah. So you now have a place to sleep, and the recruits that come here, we're going to give you a full military kit and a place to sleep. We'll give you some orientation, some formation. We've got military patches on the way. So we'll help you with any final things you need with the Ukrainian embassy. And we're going to have this place here so that guys who get who don't take the Ukrainian citizenship and who might get some battle fatigue can come here and do R&R for a couple of weeks or months before they go back to the battle. So we're committed to giving full support to all our recruits. Mm-hmm. And this way, I think we can contribute something that's really wonderful on the side of God and the side of man. So yeah, get your butts to Warsaw. And any of you out there thinking of serving, if you're a military veteran, and that means a veteran of your armed forces or your auxiliary forces or your National Guard as in the United States, give it a serious thought. And you can call our number in Warsaw and talk to me, and I'll take you through all the things to see whether you have the right side of interest, and then come over. And if you're from, if you are a military veteran and qualified, but you're from a country where you can't afford the flight, we'll even see to try to help you get here. So we're doing everything we can to promote recruitment to the Foreign Legion. And all those guys who are joining the Foreign Legion who we don't know and don't know us, I'm totally in favor of what they're doing. I'm not jealous at all. I think this is wonderful. So we'll try to contribute what we can. And let's pray for all these men that God send them a special angel in battle and lead them home safely to their families. So they can recount to their grandchildren some deeds of virtue. We're in a unique moment of history, and people will talk about this for the next generation.
Yep, and all that information is going to be in the show page, linked to the previous show we did in Warsaw. It all has the phone number, how you can help, how you can support the guys, everything, and also a link to our humanitarian relief fund.
I want to thank all the donors to the fund. We've raised over $2,000, and we're going to need to raise a lot more. What we will exactly do, we haven't yet determined, but our men in the field, we want to give them the ability to, if they see any humanitarian need, have the supplies to immediately respond to that. So we're not just pure military. We have a good Christian side to it. So please be generous in that. I think every time we do a broadcast, there are donations made to that, and that's good. But keep it in mind and share it around, because I don't think there's any organization like ours from the English-speaking world, Catholic organization, that's actually doing something like this, that's going to be in the Ukraine, in the battle zones, that kind of stuff. So please be generous.
Yep. This is Order Militaris Radio TV signing off. Deus Volt.
Yes, well.